Welcome to the Record Machine Show podcast. And now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
We are pleased to present an exciting program today featuring country recording artist Pamela Hopkins. Pamela has made a notable impact in the country music scene, recognized for her strong vocal abilities and heartfelt songwriting. But before we proceed with the interview, let's commence the show with a song. Here's her latest single, Burn It Down.
For as long as I can remember, you've been my best friend. You're the last one I thought would come between me and him. You say you love him better and that I should just walk away, but you lit the fuse to my powder keg, and now there's hell to pay. You can have my man, but I'll be damned if you get anything of mine. You should've known betraying me's like throwing a match on kerosene. I ain't afraid to send it up in flames. Bet your ass I'm going out in a blaze. Have fun sifting through the cinders of the bed you made. After I burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down. The anger feeds my fire, and that fire fuels my rage. Well, I'm leaving you with nothing but the embers that remain. You can have my man, but I'll be damned if you get anything of mine. You should've known betraying me's like throwing a match on kerosene. I ain't afraid to send it up in flames. Bet your ass I'm going out in a blaze. Have fun sifting through the cinders of the bed you made. After I burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down. As I watch the flames grow higher in the house that holds our past, well, I still have my pride intact. You can both kiss my ass. You can have my man, but I'll be damned if you get anything of mine. You should've known betraying me's like throwing a match on kerosene. I ain't afraid to send it up in flames. Bet your ass I'm going out in a blaze. Have fun sifting through the cinders of the bed you made. After I burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down.
You just listened to her latest single, Burn It Down. We now have Pamela on the line for an interview. How you doing, Pamela?
I'm good. How have you been doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm still in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 70 degrees today.
Gee, oh, it's cold here. It's probably 40, 45.
Wow. Well, the last time we spoke on the air was February 2021. During that time, you released an album, Given a Damn. Since then, you've released several singles, which will be featured on your upcoming album, Lord Knows I Ain't No Saint. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, so, kind of the way independent artists do it now, or I think they should, this is my opinion. You release singles as you go. And then once you get enough, you compile them. So on this particular album, I have 7 that I have already released, and then I have one that has not been released. So you get a surprise track on there that I did not release as a single called "Me Being Me." But we're excited about releasing this album and compiling them all in one spot, and that. For independent artists, like I said, it makes it a little bit more affordable to do them one at a time and then put them all together at the end versus the other way they used to do it in what I call the olden days.
Right.
When you release an album and then you hope somebody listens to all 45 minutes of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, then they pick a song or two. So I think it's more conducive for artists to release them as singles and then compile them, because then everybody gets every single one of your songs and nothing's a B-side.
Right. So when's it come out?
I don't know if you remember the day. It comes out on my birthday, November 30th. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm releasing it on my birthday.
Very cool. Well, this podcast will showcase 2 of those tracks, Burn It Down and Walk of Honor. Can you share the inspiration and the background behind those songs?
So with Walk of Honor, we just got a Country Music Song of the Year for the Arkansas Country Music Awards, and we also got a Hollywood Independent Music Award for that one as well, and it's up for a couple of more. With Walk of Honor, and this one kind of has a little couple-minute story with it, because I kind of have to tell you how I wrote it and where it came from for you to understand why it got written. Mm-hmm. I was scrolling through TikTok one night about a year and a month ago, so about 13 months ago, and came across this thing called an honor walk, and they hashtagged it honor walk. Well, it was a video of a mother and a father carrying their 18-month-old child, and they were walking down the hallway of a hospital, and there were doctors and nurses and friends and family lined up, and it was playing a sad song, obviously, but I was reading the caption, and the woman was basically saying, I'm having to say goodbye to my baby, but her organs are going to somebody else. So that's called an honor walk. So they're honor walking, or they're honoring the person who is giving their organs, who's dying.
Wow.
And giving their organs to somebody else. So I clicked on the hashtag and I watched, 20 more videos of the similar things because it's a thing. And I was like, of course, in tears, just like, oh my gosh, how sad. Mm-hmm. I've got to write this song. And what you find out is when you start getting emotional about something like, organ donation and somebody dying, and that feeling of I'm losing somebody, but at the same time, their organs are going to somebody else that's going to keep them alive. It's kind of I would say a double-edged sword for somebody. And I know people who have died and donated their organs, and I know people who have received organs, so my nephew-in-law, it's my very firstborn niece, married a guy named Caleb, and he actually donated one of his kidneys. Of course, he didn't pass away. He did it while he's alive because he's still living, but donated one of his kidneys to his best friend. Wow. He just happened to be a match to his best friend. So, him doing that, it's an honor. Luckily, he didn't have to pass away to do that, but, because you could still donate your organs as you're living. But to get that message out of, there's can be a, beauty at the end of tragedy. So in the story of the song, the mother is holding her, it starts off with her mother holding the daughter's hand saying goodbye, basically.
Wow. And
how many lives she'll save because of her daughter's death. And then it turns into what caused the whole tragedy to begin with, which was drunk driving. So, maybe that person will think next time they get behind the wheel of a car and while they're drinking and driving. So it's kind of a double whammy for emotions, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we won a couple awards for it, and we're proud of it. And it is a very emotional song. It's a great song. I think we did a great job writing it. And if I tell people that want to hear it, because I'll ask to hear it in my shows, my live shows, can we hear Walk of Honor? I'm like, no, because I don't want everybody in here crying. Because I have played it, like for real. I've played it at when I've done solo shows at the winery, or when I do smaller, more intimate venues, I'll ask for it. And I'm like, you do realize if you sit and really listen to the lyrics, this is, you're going to tear up.
Right.
And they're like, oh. So it's even hard for me to perform. I have to read the lyrics to perform it, so I don't think about what I'm singing. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yep, definitely.
Because I started tearing up when I'm crying when I sing it, and I'm like, I can't do it. So I have to literally just read the lyrics.
Right.
I mean, I sing it, but I'm concentrating on not messing up the lyrics, so I don't get in my emotional head.
Right.
But the other one was did you say which song did you say was the other one? Just about so I don't get off track.
Burn It Down.
Burn It Down. Okay, that was my newest one. That's one that just came out, I guess, in August. Mm-hmm. August, September. Yeah. I lose track of dates. Time does not exist in my brain as I'm ADHD. It just kind of goes by. That's why I released the album on my birthday. So I remember when it came out. I was like, I'm just going to release it on my birthday. I can't mess that one up. Okay. So Burn It Down is a story of someone I know. And I can't say who. And the story goes a little bit more deep than what we wrote it as. And obviously, they don't literally burn something down. But the basic of the story is someone I know came to me and they were telling me this story about their husband. And their husband had basically, I guess, been seeing somebody else for years behind the wife's back. Right. And the girlfriend / mistress decided to tell her. And it ended up being her best friend.
Oh, man.
So, right. So the gist of the story, it's country rock. So it goes into the country rock kind of, we kind of gave it a little bit of an Evanescence feel with a country vibe and kind of a rock vibe with it. And it basically just, she's reclaiming her independence. And so she's saying, burn it down. She's like, you can have, the basic lyric of the chorus is, you can have my man, but I'll be damned if you get anything of mine. So she's just going to, in the story of the song, she literally burns the house down. Wow. She's like, you can have him, but this belongs to me. And you're not getting that. You're not stepping foot in something I built for years.
Right.
So in my story, it's literal, but it's also figurative, metaphoric of, you can have him. I'm not going to do nothing to you because y'all deserve each other. But anything I've built, you're not getting. It may be things, and I don't care to take them either because these are things that remind me of him. I don't want those, but you're not getting them either. So
that makes total sense.
I'm just going to set the house on fire and walk away because you can have it.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, most people, when they get divorced and stuff like that, I guess someone keeps the house or they sell it and they split the money. But my wife was married before I met her, and she got divorced, and then we started dating. I would never want to live in another person's house. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd want to make my own memories.
Right, where her memories are, and but this a lot of people just go ahead and move in or whatever. But like I said, in this story, it was just like, I've built these things, and you're not going to step into them. You don't get them. Yeah. You can have him.
Yeah, take him.
He's a piece of crap. You can have him, but you're not getting anything I've built that I have my name on, and you're not getting the luxury of the life I built in this house. So,
makes total sense.
Not an insurance scam or anything. She's like, no, I'm walking away.
That's funny. I didn't hear the rest of the album yet because I just got it today.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's not your fault. But,
I'm horrible. Well, and that's my ADHD brain. And Michael knows that, who hooks me up with you. But he'll ask for something. And I told him, you got to text me. I was like, I don't check my email. Except once a week. So if you're sending me something time sensitive, just text me and say, check your email, and I'll do it. I don't mind doing it, but I have so many things on my plate. Actually sitting down and doing email every day. And I always say, here's a new email address. I'm not going to sign up for anything that would cause me spam so I can filter through it. And then I'll get there and there'll be like a ton of emails. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't connect. Wow. Whoops. Messed that one up.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing it though. I'll listen to it. I do a lot of driving, so I'm going to burn it onto a CD and just, go through it,
There you go. Well, all of the songs, there are 7 songs that were previously released and one that we stuck on there that was not released as a single. And I probably won't be releasing that as a single. It's called Me Being Me. Mm-hmm. It was one of the first songs that I recorded a few years ago when I was trying to find my sound. And, because I've done covers forever and I was like, I've got to find my sound. I started releasing music 2018. We did the EP. So when I recorded the songs for my last album, Giving a Damn, Don't Go With My Outfit, this was one of the songs that I recorded during that time. And I just held on to it. And I was like, I didn't want to put it on that album yet. And I was like, well, and so then I had a plan to release, 7 or 8 more songs. And I was like, I'll just save it for the next album. It's one of the only song on this album that I did not write. Oh, okay. It came from hit writer. Yeah, it came from hit writer Jim Femino, who passed away a couple of years ago. But he wrote James Otto's Just Got Started Loving You. On my last album, he wrote 2 of my songs, and the rest I wrote, which he wrote Crank It Up to Crazy and Somebody Here's Walking. But he had #1 country hits. I mean, he's a great guy. He was so fun to get to know, and then he passed away. He was having heart attacks and finally passed away from one. So,
oh, wow.
So R.I.P. Jim Femino. But I didn't release it because I started writing my own stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, I've got to get my own things out. And that's what I did. So I had the first couple to kind of get my sound. And then I was on a ball rolling. I was, got the ball rolling. That didn't come out right. You know what I meant. I got the ball rolling and I was writing and recording my own stuff. And so when I was looking at the last 7 songs, I was like, well, I need 8 for it to be an album. And I was like, oh, I've got Me Being Me. I've got it. It's already done. And I'll just stick it on there. I don't have to release it as a single. It can be on there as a surprise song. So if you get the album or download the album, you'll have a song that hasn't been released yet.
Nice.
It's a fun song too. Yeah, it's a fun song. It fits me perfectly, which is why I got it from Jim when he pitched me songs. He pitched me about 10, and there were 3 that I connected with. Somebody Here Is Walking, Crank It Up to Crazy because it's fun. And then this one, I was like, that just sounds like me. So it's called Me Being Me.
Awesome. How do you approach songwriting, and what do you think makes a great song?
So the way I approach it, all songwriters are different. I know some people just get in a room and everybody just, snowballs ideas. What I do is I have times that I feel inspired. And when those moments hit me, I start getting notes. I start putting notes in my phone, or I'll start singing I have a melody line that comes up in my head. I'll sing it into my note. So I have it for later on when I actually schedule writing sessions with my co-writers. So I typically write with Dave Lenahan and Scott Barrier out of Nashville. And so they have a lot of releases, a lot of writes. They write all the time. That's kind of what they do, 5 days a week. So I schedule a time with them and we do a lot of writing together when I'm in my inspirational, queue or whatever. We have lots of them that we've written that I plan to record or redo. We end up pitching some of them. But like I said, I go to my notes when we get on Zoom calls and they're like, well, what are you feeling? Because we're usually writing for me because they're not singers. So they're like, what are you feeling this time? And I'll say, well, I don't know. If I'm not feeling anything at that particular time, I just go to my notes and I read off my ideas. And I say, are any of these sparking something? And they'll say, that one sounds interesting. Let's do that one. And so then we'll take that as the subject. We open up a Google Doc and we do a lot of research on the topic on how to craft, like not phrases, but like if like for instance, burn it down. So when I say research, we'll go out there and we'll say, okay, so what is the idea? I give them the general story, and they say, okay, so let's start. We start a list of brainstorming words that have to do with burning or fire. And that's how we kind of start. Okay, so which ones rhyme? And we kind of do that. And then, okay, now let's talk about how to craft the story. Let's start with the chorus. Let's go back, make sure the verse supports the chorus. And that's how we kind of craft it. I mean, I know that's probably boring to most people that don't care about songwriting, but it happens in about a 2-hour block. We generally end up with a full song and a melody. We record a very rough version of it that I keep. And when I go in the studio or I have my band, we get together, we kind of craft how we want it to sound, and then I record it.
Nice. That's pretty cool. You're known for your electrifying live performances, having entertained audiences globally, including performing for the U.S. troops in Alaska, Australia, Guam, Japan, and more. What has been your most memorable performance or experience as a musician so far, and why?
Any of the military tours that I do are always memorable, just because we're bringing a piece of home to where they are. So that's how I've gotten to go to Guam, Japan. I've been to South Korea, Australia, Honduras, Bahrain. But being able to talk to the troops and any of the performances that we do, just seeing them go, thank you, and thanking us. And we're like, no, thank you. Like, we're here because of you. I'm traveling and on planes every day, exhausted, so that I can bring a part of my craft, a part of my, my energy and my love for our country and our military back to them, and they always, especially when you're in places like, Honduras, where, or Bahrain, where they're isolated. Like there's not an American influence in those two places around where they're at. So you coming in and playing covers of, Don't Stop Believing, or things that they can just, have a night out drinking and being with their buddies, not worrying about what's going on where they are. And a lot of times it's a 2-hour show. And, afterwards they're like, thanks for traveling here and coming. This reminded me of a club I go to back home, or the music I get to hear, the vibe I get to be in when I'm back home. I could choose to go to, and I don't have that option here. So any of those performances are always my favorite and always the memorable ones. I mean, we went all the way to Australia. That's a long flight, and
I'm sure.
it was like an 18-hour flight there to Sydney, and then we flew another 3 hours across the country.
Wow.
In the middle of nowhere. We were in the outback in Alice Springs, and it's just the middle of nowhere, literally nowhere. There's nothing.
Wow.
And it's you're like, well, what is there to see here? And they're like, well, there's this rock. We can take you to this famous rock. And so we went to you hike around this rock. And so spending some time with them outside of that's also, it's a good time, and it's very heartfelt and memorable. I remember those probably, like I said, more than anything, more than the cruises, more than my land gigs here, are those. So.
Awesome. You've received numerous honors, such as a victory at the Josie Awards, an award from Arkansas Country Music Association, even a win at the Independent Music Network Awards. How does it feel to engage in a passion and to be recognized with an award for your efforts?
Well, it feels really good, obviously, because you're like, wow, somebody's recognizing my work and my craft, my artistry. Now, as far as, is that what I'm going for when I write or when I put music out? No, I do it because it comes from my heart. And if it's recognized, then it's kind of like a feather in the cap.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm not just doing this and spinning my tires, but somebody somewhere thinks it's worthy and enough that it touched them that they were like, you get this. And it feels great. But not always necessary, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like I said, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I do it for the love of it, not for that. But it's always an honor to be recognized, for my work. It's because it's hard work, and it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of cost out of an independent artist's budget. We pay for everything ourselves. I don't have a backer. I don't have somebody saying, here's, $50,000, go and create. And I'm like, I wish I did. That would be nice. But no, I don't.
Right. And during the first time that we spoke, you were out of the music business for a long time, right? You were working as a cop and even a teacher, right?
Right. Yeah. So I spent, almost 20 years doing something different, and then coming back into music and doing it full time and having the ability to travel. And I always tell people I'm traveling on somebody else's dime, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I do a lot of, I know this is kind of off topic, but I do a lot of research on, just because I'm getting up to where I have to start looking at retirement. What am I going to be doing? You don't think about it in your 20s, but when you get in your 40s, you're like,
Yeah, I know.
How is this going to look in the next 15 years? So I do a lot of research on how to make make money.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, or have the lifestyle that I love to travel. So how do I do that? Doing what I do, and so those awards do help.
They sure do.
To push you forward to say, even if it's just a little bit of clout, to say, well, she's an award-winning artist, and somebody go, well, like, okay, so you're not just some, person who's recording in their garage and it sounds like, the quality's bad. Like, I spend money to do that, and so having that behind me, and then being able to get gigs that way and being able to travel across the world. I mean, I've been to places I never probably would have paid for myself doing this, so I think it was a good career shift.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have done it earlier in life. Maybe I'd be a lot further. And, as we age, we're on borrowed time at this point. I got less in front of me than I do behind me. So, and I got a birthday coming up, so it's not getting any better.
Yeah. Well, things happen for a reason, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I kind of live in that world. I do. I live in where I'm supposed to be at this moment in time. And I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Now, if I wasn't working and doing anything for that, that would be a different, then you're where you're supposed to be because you don't put in the effort.
Right.
But I think if you put in the effort, doors open where they're supposed to open, they close where they're supposed to close, and you have to be okay accepting that. Even when it's sometimes a rejection. And these are, that's something I tell my kids. Like, my daughter wanted this job really, really bad. And she's in her master's degree year, getting an accounting degree, and she didn't get the firm she wanted. She's like, well, they passed on me. I said, okay, well, I don't, rejection isn't always bad. It just means that's not for you right now.
Right.
So something else will open. You're doing everything right. You're putting in the work. something else will open and it will be better. And you don't know what path that's going to lead you to,
Right.
but you got to be open to accept whatever comes. And that's kind of what I've done with music. I'm open to accept what comes. People have kept me booked, thankfully. I'm booked all the way through April. If I take a weekend off right now, it's because I choose to, not because I don't have a gig. It's because I chose to block that weekend off, which is a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because and I'm going to tell you, that's hard to do.
I'm sure.
Because people are always like, oh, can you do this date? Can you do that? And I have to, this is my 2025 era I'm coming into, is I cannot work myself to death. I'm going to have to, because we own a business, we own a restaurant, and I'm there, and I have to not keep myself busy on the weekends. About every 8 weeks, I've got to take that weekend off and either go somewhere and travel on my own, not performing, just so I get the rest I need, because it wears me out.
Sure.
I'm going 7 days a week. Mondays are generally my day off, but on Mondays I'm scheduling employees. I'm working on social media for the week for my restaurant, and then thinking about, okay, so what gigs do I have coming up? What do I need to prepare for that? I'm getting things I need for the restaurant for the week. Sundays generally, if I've been at a gig, I'm traveling back home. So I'm busy all day, and when I get home I crash. It's just, I'm like, I've got to carve this time out for me, or I'm gonna burn out.
Yeah.
So
got to charge the battery.
I do. But it's so hard to not take those gigs, and people are just, oh, we want to see you perform. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I need that weekend off. Nope, I'm going somewhere, because if I don't go somewhere, I'll take a gig.
Yeah. Health is more important than money sometimes.
It is. And I need it. And I make a good amount that I'm comfortable. So I'm okay taking that time off.
Nice.
I'm okay.
What are your thoughts on the rise of streaming services and their impact on artists' revenue?
It's a mixed bag. I was talking about this with my best friend the other day, who's also my drummer, also co-writer on Walk of Honor, which is Lonnie Abbott. Him and I were talking about it, I want to say a couple days ago. I was like, we were talking about when I put music out back in the 90s versus today, and how we're listening to some older artists and grooves and things, if you had the right connections, because we're talking about specifically the band Toto. Okay. So he has a lot of music knowledge, because he watches a lot of YouTube videos and things on like bands and band history, and he watches stuff on equipment. That's why he's my right-hand person, because he knows way more than I do about stuff like that. But that's what sparked our conversation. And he was like, I think whatever we were listening to, I think it was Yacht Rock Radio. We were traveling to go to a gig. And he goes, did you know that the last 4 songs that have played have had the same drummer? And this was Yacht Rock. It was like in the 70s. Had the same drummer. And I was like, really? And so that's what sparked the conversation. And he said, yeah, he goes, it's the drummer for Toto. And he said, did you know that all of Toto's, all their musicians were studio musicians? And then they formed the band on the side. So all of them played on a lot of people's stuff. And I was like, back in the day, because everybody shared musicians. And so I said, I almost think it was easier, maybe, if you were a serious musician, to do something like that. Because if you were a serious musician, you could go and be a studio, you could get in that rat race right there and find a home and work your way into studio musician, and then meet other people doing like things, create a band or whatever, but at least get known for your work if you were doing the work to do it. I said, but I think it was also harder because you had to have connections. Everything was about connections. We didn't have the internet, things like that. Like, you literally had to live in that spot and do that thing. You had no way to get your music out otherwise. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I said, but now we're looking at everybody can put out music. And that's why, but it's also cheapened what artists make.
Right.
So unless you're a labeled artist, you're not making squat. Because when people are streaming, good that you're getting my music out there, and I go to my shows and I can say, well, I'm on Spotify, and they can see how many streams I've had, or they can see how many listens I've had, which I've gotten away from putting as much out. I put everything out, but I don't promote Spotify as much because I don't agree with their pay stuff, and I don't agree with how they do things. Mm-hmm. So just having that said, please listen to it on Apple Music or YouTube, because I don't get any issues with Spotify. I do. You get blamed for things that aren't happening, and there's no way to prove it otherwise, and you can't talk to anybody, and I don't like that. So not a big fan. So I've taken a lot of my promotions off of Spotify, and I think Michael with MTS has done that too, because he's had issues with them. They'll pull your music and basically say you paid for bots. And I'm like, I haven't paid for bots. That's why I have, thousands of listeners.
Wow.
And so I just pulled my promotion. So now whoever listens, and I just don't say anything. So listen to it on Apple Music, Deezer, Pandora, any of the other ones. Not that I'm against Spotify, but yeah. But we don't make anything. And then they don't want to pay you if they can even think you're doing anything shady. They're like, oh, we're just not going to pay you for that song.
Wow.
So they have a lot of my money that they're not giving me, and I don't like that. And there's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing you can do. You just you can pull your music off, and then direct people other places. But Spotify is probably the most consumed network there is, so I don't want to pull my music. I just take the loss on that one because it's what I have to do, I guess. So it's the name of the beast, right?
Yeah.
CDs are going out. You mentioned a minute ago that you were going to burn it onto a CD and then listen to it. Well, nobody has CD players in their cars anymore.
Except for me, I guess.
Right. Well, so now people are doing it on USBs. And I'm like, but would somebody actually plug a USB into their car and listen to my music? So I don't know if that's a cost that I should, but I can't sign a USB.
Right.
I could sign a CD. So I still do CDs. I'll buy like 100 of them and I'll have them at my shows to sell. Artists make more when you do that, when you buy their CDs. And when you then streaming, obviously, one CD, if you purchase it from an independent artist, that's why I tell people when you go listen to live music, buy their merch because that's how they make their money. They're not going to make it on streaming. Streaming is making them pennies compared to what if you just go to a live show or go on their website, buy a T-shirt. I'll make a $10 profit on a T-shirt. It takes me 20,000 streams to make $10 from anything else.
Wow.
At 0.0003 or 0.0006 cents per stream, it takes a lot of them to get anything. So I think it's helped independent artists get out there and release their music without a label and have a broader reach because we can pay somebody like, MTS to submit it to iTunes, to submit it to, the charts. So it does get out there. So we do have worldwide listeners. Whereas in the 90s, when I had my tape, my cassette, because CDs weren't a thing in 93, they were expensive back then. So you just did a cassette, got my cassette tape and I would sell them. You had to depend on your network reach to be word of mouth if you were not labeled, which was very hard, very, very hard because you would have to travel and do things. And it was very hard. Now I can click of a button, I can send it out, and you could choose to listen to it or not. But you're in Myrtle Beach, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And you hear my music.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, you probably never would have got a chance to hear it, listen to it, talk to me. We wouldn't be doing this.
No way.
I would have to travel to a radio station.
Yep. This is so much better, right?
They let me in and spend so it's, like I said, it's a mixed bag, but money wise, I don't know. I make more money when I'm at my shows, selling the CDs and the merch than I do on streaming platforms, but somebody like you can find it and hopefully order, from me. But I don't know. There's my 2 cents.
I love physical copies. There's nothing like it. I remember back in the day, you'd go in the record store, you'd buy an album, you'd take it home, you'd pull the sleeve out, you'd read through all the notes and look at all the pictures, and it was fun,
Yeah, it was, and we have gotten away from that. I guess vinyls are coming back, but they're expensive. Like for me to have, say, and I think they require like a minimum of 50 for you to burn them. You're looking at, almost $1,000.
Yeah.
For them to, and so then if I sell it for cost, it's still, and it may be more than that. I can't remember because it's just so much cheaper to do CDs because I can burn a CD. I can get those made for $3.
Yeah. Now, are you going to be selling physical copies on your website?
I will. So I've got it already in the thing. I just haven't. I'm working on the inside art right now. Because I had the outside art done because you have to have that as your cover. So my inside art, I've got it almost done. I just, work on it when I have time.
Awesome. Where can the listeners go to learn more about you?
My website, PamelaHopkinsMusic.com. And that's where you can, everything's there. So all the links to my YouTubes, my Spotify, the Apple Music, and my social media is all there. So you find everything out, even my tour schedule. So I keep it on Tourbox. You go to where I'm at, it just tells you. And then on my social medias, I always put out usually like my 3-month schedule. So I always tell people before you plan to go, like say you're like, oh, I saw something 2 months ago, you were going to be here. make sure you go and check I'm still there, because every now and then there's a change. It's not often, but I work for some clubs that will trade me from one club to another, and it's city, meaning like I was supposed to be in Bossier City, and they were like, hey, this club needs you here, so we're going to fill your spot here and send you over here, and I'll be in Oklahoma City instead. Wow. So they're nowhere near. So be sure, I always tell people, just check back the week before you go, make sure that's where I'm still at, because I keep that updated on my website as much as I can to make sure that I'm reflecting correctly where I'm going to be. And you can always send me a message through my Facebook, which is Pamela Hopkins Music. That's you can just search that. It'll pop up. Instagram, same thing. It's all branded the same.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
If you are into cruising, I'm doing 3 cruises next year. You can come cruise with me on the Norwegian Cruise Lines. I'm there in March. It's the first 3 weeks in March, all of June. And I will be in the last week of September all the way through October. I'll be New York up to Canada. I'll be on that the run. But you can find out that information also on my website, or send me a DM. I'll tell you which cruises they are, so that you get on the correct one. Come see me. We're doing some casino gigs with the band. I'm still doing dueling pianos, and so I'm at different dueling piano bars. And like I said, just check my schedule. We'll be putting out new music next year. I've got to get back in the studio, so got to figure that out in the next month or two when that's going to happen, and then start releasing my next singles for my next album.
Very cool. Well, Pamela, it's been great catching up with you. It's been 3 years, but it was definitely worth the wait.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed us talking, and I hope everything, like I said, is going okay. And you guys made it well through the hurricane season.
We did.
Over there in Myrtle Beach.
We did. Well, I
need it that way. I got a friend that lives over there, a couple friends that live over there.
Okay. Well, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Your birthday's coming up. Happy birthday and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And good luck with this album, all right?
Thank you so much. Thank you for promoting it for me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We'll chat soon, all right?
We will. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye. It was a total pleasure reconnecting with Pamela today. And as always, we like to conclude the show with a song. Here's another one from Pamela Hopkins titled Walk of Honor. Have a great day, folks.
All she can remember is holding her hand, never wanting to let go. Doctor said it's time, as her tears started to flow. She prayed this senseless tragedy would help someone down the road. It's the hardest walk of her life. She'll always hold her baby girl inside. Somebody else's baby's heart is gonna beat again. Somebody else's mama's gonna breathe okay again. Somebody else's daddy's gonna get a second chance for that wedding dance with his own baby girl. As I take this walk of honor with my own little love, I thank my Lord above, she gets to live again. All he can remember is taking that last shot and grabbing his keys to go. When he woke up in that bed, the doctor filled him in. He causes senseless tragedy, now she also lives in him. Maybe next time he'll think before he drives, because a baby girl saved his life. Somebody else's baby's heart is gonna beat again. Somebody else's mama's gonna breathe okay again. Somebody else's daddy's gonna get a second chance for that wedding dance with his own baby girl. As I take this walk of honor with my own little love, she saved his life in more ways than Somebody else's baby's heart is gonna beat again. Somebody else's mama's gonna breathe okay again. Somebody else's daddy's gonna get a second chance for that wedding dance with his own baby girl. As I take this walk of honor with my own little love, I thank my Lord above. She gets to live again. She gets to live again.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Howell Productions. All rights reserved. For information regarding distribution or adding this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.
The Record Machine Show.